Netley isn't untypical of many post-industrial towns in Wales, but there is quite a high level of unemployment, particularly since the closing of the Dewport Steelworks in 1982. And at that point, a real wave of hopelessness came into the town, and there was a major upsurge in the amount of drugs coming into Netley. The church started about 10 years ago. A few of us were working for a mission organisation, and we were working particularly amongst young people, and we saw quite a lot of young people from disadvantaged backgrounds come to faith, but they really weren't fitting into the local chapels and stuff. They just weren't used to the culture of it, really. So out of that, we started a church that met in Mark on my front room, just a handful of us in that, and the church has grown out of that. Our vision was to be a church alive for our neighbour, our nation and the nations. And in some ways our community involvement really just grew out of some of the stuff that we were just doing. We found that we were being involved in like family issues with the numbers of single parents coming to us, and that we were getting involved with the whole thing of re-employment. We were finding people were being drawn to us from backgrounds of addiction.
"15 years of my life was spent in institutions, detention centres, hostels, prisons. For 10 years of them 15 I've spent taking drugs, injecting drugs, breaking into chemist shops, doing all sorts of things to like feed the habit, as it were. And when I got out of prison in 1991, I started meeting Christians. I myself became a Christian. The programme was born out of the fact that we needed somewhere in the church to deal with people who come in. We get a lot of contact with people from the drug, alcohol background, and we needed a more intensive form of discipleship.
I started taking drugs at the age of 9. By the time I was 11, I was being given drugs by my stepfather. I started drinking. By the time I was 14, I was using amphetamines and opiates. And at 16, I started injecting myself. And from there, it's gone to an heroin addiction that spanned nearly 3 years. Getting the money for me was doing armed robberies, burglaries. There was crime-related, anything to do with crime, anything to get money, and I was doing it. And I spent a lot of time in prison for armed robbery. I've tried to stop before in rehabilitation homes and detoxification, but by the time I come out, I just want to go back to drugs. This time, I asked Jesus in my life. He accepted me the way I was, and I just wanted to change that, and he's changed me.
I started using drugs when I was about 10 years old, and I started off with soft drugs, like cannabis and everything. And then by the time I was 16, I started using speed, and then I went on to heroin and opiates of other sorts. Got caught eventually, and I ended up in prison. Karen and Alan came to visit me, and that's where I found Jesus. And he told me all about the programme. I was quite interested about it, so I thought I'd give it a go when I come out.
Just for today, I will try to live through this day only and not tackle my whole life problem at once. I can do something for 12 hours. I work part-time and run the Overcomers programme. It's a programme that runs one meeting a week at night, and we have about 11 or 12 people on it at the moment. And it's for people with life-controlling problems, addictions, compulsions, things that are very hard to sort of overcome within the church. Many people get saved 1 minute, and they're praising the Lord and everything. And then within 2 or 3 weeks, they're back drinking. And it's a discipleship package as well that addresses all the issues that any addict would have to face. Would anyone like to open in a prayer?
Sí, yo al haber estado aquí y conocer a los...
Drug addiction is very much the same all around the world, regardless of race or language or country or whatever, the effects of drug addiction are the same.
También veo que
I'm very impressed about the type of activities that people are proposing to hold here. I'm very impressed about the size and the activities that are going on. And I've seen that God's love is here.
como aquí en el Reino Unido.
One of the reasons that we went into the whole Choose Life and Overcomers thing was that we'd seen many people from backgrounds of addiction really touched by Jesus and had their lives powerfully impacted, but we just felt that we were really failing in how we followed them up. And it was the same with the whole issue of unemployment. A lot of people are claiming benefit but still working, doing something called being on the hobble. And it was how as a church we really faced that issue. It was okay to say, well, you really shouldn't do that, but it was almost needing then to provide an alternative.
Well, for the last 5 years, I've actually been unemployed. For the last 5 years, I've become a Christian. Previous to that, I was doing what we call obbling, working illegally, really, claiming unemployment benefit, and then working for other people. And when I became a Christian, then the Lord convicted me of that, and that had to stop. And basically, for the last 5 years, we've been doing nothing. I'm saying we'd be doing nothing, we'd be doing some voluntary work with the church and so on, but no paid work, really.
First started, I had an old chest. It was like an old white chest, and it was really grotty. Stuart brought it home, didn't you? And I thought, I'll take that up to the spare room now and I'll do it all in green. So I just started experimenting, really. And from then we said we were going to do second-hand furniture, and I thought it was a good idea then to bring that in alongside it then, and so that's basically how we started.
And if it weren't through the church, there's no way we could have started, because they've given us, for a period, rent-free to us and so on, and
it's really encouraging then. So.
We can't do it. If we didn't have a building, we couldn't do this.
Yeah.
I got involved in the club scene, doing drugs and things like that. My sister was a Christian, and her husband as well, and I think a lot of prayer on their part and a lot of things going wrong in my life that finally, I thought, well, give God a try. I've tried everything else, so I'll try God, and yes, it worked. The Way started up in April last year, where the youth were free to worship in their way, in their culture, rather than coming to church and having to worship in a way that was fine for maybe older people, but not for them. It's really taken off. We just want to tell them that the relationship with Jesus is what counts, and how they worship him, not the church.
Dyma gariad fel y moroi, tosti'r iaith a'i fel y llŷ. Twysog bywyd pyr yn marw, marwi brynu'n bywyd ni. Pwy all baidio a chofio amdano, pwy all baidio a traeth I glod. Dyma y gariad nad anangof, tra fo nefoedd wen yn bod. Ar gael fariad ar ymroegodd, holl fan hon a'r dyfnder mawr. Torodd holl ar gai ar nefoedd, oedd yn gyfain hyd yn awr. Gras a chariad neges dilyw, yn ymdywallt am angni. side.